Hey everyone, and thanks for joining us to learn about door signs in BioRaft. I've got Bill Kalinich, our systems engineer, here with me, and he's going to take us through this helpful feature. Bill, as we all know, door signs are tricky. They need to communicate a lot of information in a pretty small, often static space. How do BioRaft's door signs help out with this?
Thanks, Matt. So what our bioreactor door sign process looks like is really two areas. We have a digital door sign, which can be used to communicate hazards and to look at things when we're not actually at the physical door. And we have the physical printout side of things. The first step really here is to create our digital door sign. Then we're going to pull in information that's known from the platform. So we can see that we have a lot of groups using this space. But we only have two contacts that we know we're going to call in the case of emergencies. They're primary and secondary phone numbers. And if this is converted to a mobile application, primarily what this will allow us to do is to make selections on those numbers and call them right from there, saving us from having to write anything down and make those types of decisions. We'll pull in our space hazard information. So we can see a lot of these types of hazards here. Can't really fit all this on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, or how that might operate. There may be things here that we want to keep a little bit protected from the general public as well.
Yeah, it's great to be able to see this. I know that door signs are one of those things where they were invented before the internet and still trying to catch up and keep up. And you don't always have the ability to fit all the information that you want to have about a space on a paper sign. Being able to kind of have the best of both worlds here and be linked to a more easily updatable online portal for hazard information can be really nice.
Exactly. It makes things very standardized. So we don't have people writing in different types of hazards. They're easily selected for people to make those choices. We also have the options as well. So we can, depending on the institution, organization, what we can really do here is turn off features if we don't want them on, things like 704, NIMES, et cetera. But if we do like them on, we easily connect to our ChemTracker module to be able to view the NFPA report, making these things handy for us if we're in the case of emergency, communicating with the fire department. We can actually see the amount of total poundage and actually make sure that our numbers are correct here when we line them up. Do we have those hazards within those areas? How much of it, and what's our most prevalent hazard within this space? So combining the inventories of all those groups that are associated to this location to provide us with an NFPA report that's easily actionable as well. So if we wanted to make any changes to this door sign, we can see that we have a lot of information to steer us in the right direction. We can see the groups that are using this as well, and we can associate this information downstream. You can see that there's consistencies between the types of hazards. Are they really doing BSL-3 work in this space, or is Jenny Bruxner maybe conducting it in another space? We can make easily associated informations here and combine all those pretty easily. We can populate all of these if we know that all these hazards are going to be within this location, or we can conduct an individual assessment to make those selections as well, making it really easy for people to take the known hazards, make those associations, and then communicate them downstream, right? If you think of it kind of like a funnel, we're starting with a lot of information and condensing it down to that particular space. Again, we can view the NFPA report here to make these associations very easily. We can see that we have actually water reactive as a pretty common hazard here, so we can make any updates if we wanted to in our other areas as well. We can include personal protective equipment, things that might be needed when working in this space, not necessarily just what's needed to enter this space. We're all familiar with lab coat, gloves, and glasses, but there might be other things that are needed or concerns that we might have when we generate these up as well. So as I make those selections, we can stop right there from the laboratory or group side of things and shoot this over to our health and safety department to complete the rest of it. Take a look at what hazards we've made selections on and then complete the physical side of things. Or if we give those permissions to our groups, they can continue on the journey here to print out their door signs and follow the next steps. Any changes that are made to this as well over time can be added to this really easily. So if I've made changes in the past here, I can update that and make it nice and smooth to our new printout. We have different templates that are available depending on how you'd like to operate the door signs. So if we don't want NFPA diamonds, we only want icons for GHS or ISO. There's different templates that are available through our library. We can also change the orientation from 8.5 by 11 portrait to landscape to 11 by 17 size if required. And only since only so much information is actually going to fit on the physical printout of the door sign, we try to streamline that information to the most relevant. We can still kind of hide that information to the digital side of things, making it easy to access in the case of an emergency, but only putting the numbers up that are relevant for those individuals. You can provide headers, other information about the door sign as well here. Then we can make some selections. We know the hazards that are going to be present here, but what do we want to actually communicate? We can make some assumptions here, or we can say, hey, harmful materials is going to encompass all of these types of hazards that might be present. We can be highly specific if we choose to. We're going to say that water reactive is our main hazard here. And it'll give us guidance as to how many hazards can actually fit in this area. So we can deselect or make selections that are going to be appropriate for us as well, making this nice and easy for us to communicate upstream to our physical door signs without changing the hazards on the digital door signs. So we include our personal protective equipment and say, okay, let's make sure this all generates up to what we need to conduct and verify this information and easily print the door sign right from here. So as this generates out to a PDF, it'll be all uniform and easiest for us to see.
Wow. I mean, Bill, that just got created right there for us. I mean, it's really nice to be able to see that this didn't require any sort of frustrating drag and drop, having to spend a lot of time rearranging things, trying to optimize where things are located, figuring out, how small is too small on these and trying to cram as much information on. I know that can sometimes sound nice until all of a sudden you need to make 100 of these things or update them. And, adding one category all of a sudden ruins your 30 minutes of careful design work.
Exactly, and it takes training to learn how to do all those as well. So as we have people come in and help us, or just starting out to help us build up these door signs, it takes learning onto those programs. It takes understanding of how to position everything. It's a very tedious task that has a lot of implications and potential downstream effects for us as well when they're not updated frequently or not updated accurately. So that is prohibitive in the case of an emergency of just having to do these tasks on this level, making it easy, making it accessible to our laboratories to be able to build them up, or people in charge of spaces, allows for this to be uniform across the site. We also see that we have emergency contacts information here and things that are going to be permanent. So this is already brought in. We don't need to add this every single time. So we can have space for a couple numbers here to communicate the types of different use cases for the calls in case of emergency. We can also see when this door sign has been updated. So as we're walking down the hall, have that bits of information, going to do an inspection, we can see if this has been current when it's been built or not. Another feature here on the top is we're going to be able to pull in our logos and that information that we want to have on our door sign. So it's going to feel really specific to us, and it's going to be automatically positioned and pulled in. And all that digital door sign information is going to be located behind the QR code. So if I have any questions about how this space or the other hazards that are present, I want to get to the phone numbers to make those actionable. As a member of our health and safety team, I can scan that QR code and pull that information up, or even start an inspection on the space right from there. So it's a lot of action. We turned it from something that has just a printout with information that you need to walk up to that space to find out what's actually going on in there, to something that you could see outside, right? We can pull up our digital door sign, we can pull up that information and be ready for response before we even walk in the building. So with these as well, what this will allow us to do here is to be able to make this information actionable at the building level. So we're not only building the physical door sign for the space or the digital door sign for the space, what we're actually doing is creating a building profile. So if I was to go to the Bouchard Research Facility, pull this information up, if there's an emergency, I could easily get to this location. If There is well, I'm curious about the space hazards of this building and I want to see from a risk profile of where the high hazards are or how those hazards are organized in this building. I can pull those up. I can also get very granular into this as well. So if I want to pull in our space hazard information, be brought to a dashboard. So if I need to come in and find out, in the case of a fire, flood, a power outage, where are live animals? For instance, here, I can find that we do have 5 spaces that have our animals here. And I can see that most of them are occupied by Daniel DeMuth. And I can actually dive into his spaces as well and make those phone calls, see what other hazards might be present within his space if I'm coming in to be reactive through their digital door signs. So as I pull up that space and pop into our door sign for our contact information, I can easily make those determinations as well as to what's going to be located within this area when I respond.
Oh, it's great to be able to see that all of this information that's already present in Bioraft is just being used and repurposed for this particular application. I mean, being able to draw on all of that and not need to do any real additional manual labor and data input to try and put together this important piece of communication is just really a huge time saver and helps with that kind of standardization that you mentioned earlier.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, it makes it really easy for us to communicate. It makes it easy for anybody to come in and build a door sign. It spreads out the task a little bit. It makes this something that be uniform and modern looking across the site.
Perfect. Well, Bill, thanks for taking us through our door signs and showing us, what we've got here and how to put them together. And if you're interested to learn a little bit more about how you can use door signs in Bioraft to show that information on your laboratory and scientific spaces, let us know. We're happy to reach out and learn more about your needs and show you a more personalized look into what our system can do for you. So thanks for joining us and look forward to talking with you again soon.